LSU explodes in the third to take down Kentucky. Are they heating up at the right time? The Saints shake up their staff with Doug Nussmeier and Brandon Staley. Good moves or just noise? Plus, Netflix wants in on the NFL. ESPN drops MLB. Is streaming taking over sports? And when it comes to the draft, what matters more, game film or measurables? All that and more on episode 31 of the Fitz Take Podcast. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into yet another episode of the Fitz Take Podcast. I'm your man, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you know you can always call me Fitz. That man in boxes with me with the TV in the background because he's on the road right now is Elijah Nixon, a.k.a. E-Money, a.k.a. Eli, out there traveling all across the East Coast, trying to get stuff situated for the big day for himself out there, man. How's that been going for you?
Oh man, only day one, and it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, I can't wait to see what this rest of the week holds. But day one is a lot, man. Listen to me. People out here think about getting married. Think about after you say, "Do you want to marry me?" And you get on the knee, because after that, bro, that's a lot of planning, bro. That's a lot of planning. I never did this much planning in my life.
Yeah, man, all for the special day, man. So it'll all come together real soon. So we gonna be looking forward to that big day for you, brother. Thank you guys so much for getting us to this point. We're currently at 684 subscribers there on YouTube, so we greatly appreciate that. If you are not a subscriber, please hit the bell down below and subscribe to the channel, as we would greatly appreciate that support from you guys. Also, you can give us a follow wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, and all of those things in that sort. Man, last week for me, covering a lot of high school soccer, so I was freezing my butt off a ton. But in the national sports world, it was even more busy. So we'll hop right into things with take number one. And we are talking about some women's college basketball, as number 7 LSU rallied from a 16-point deficit to beat number 14 Kentucky 65-58. Mikaylah Williams scored 15 of her 24 points in the second half. The Tigers fell behind 38-22 in the first half, but outscored the Wildcats 23-6 in the third quarter. The fourth quarter featured 4 lead changes before Williams hit a wide open three-pointer with 50 seconds left to put the game away. And it was LSU coach Kim Mulkey's 750th career victory, and it secured a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament for the Tigers. So, Elijah, how important is it for this group to be playing good basketball at this point in the year? Not just about the conference tournament, but more so about March Madness as we get there to the postseason.
Very important. I mean, when people lose, especially at this time of the year, it could be demoralizing to even a great team. No matter if you was ranked number 1 or you was number 25 in the nation. Like losing at this time of the year could be demoralizing because you want to be coming in there hot, shooting your best percentages that you can, getting open looks, playing the best team basketball that you can, offensively, defensively, and just scraping and scribbling out wins no matter what happens, whether if it's 1 point or 20 points. So for LSU, I think that they're pulling out this win. That's big, right? Being down 16 points. Mikaylah scored 15 of her 24 in the second half. Anissa, she get another double. So it's like they're playing their best basketball, right? But right now, and I'm gonna ask you this question, Fitz. Is this the way that you want to win, though? Don't get me wrong. It's in style. If Kim Mulkey wanted to win for her 750th time in style, that's it. This is it. But right now, think about this. You lose to Texas by giving up a lead, then you're down to Kentucky, and you have to scrape back and win against that one. Is this more of an impressive win for you, or do you think like this was like something like just to get back on track?
I don't think it's truly an impressive win, just because your big stars did what they were supposed to do. Mikaylah Williams is one of the best 3-level basketball players in all of women's basketball. Flage also had a double-double, I think 13 and 13 rebounds as well. And then, like you mentioned, Anissa Morrow with another double-double, her I think 25th there of the season. But when you look at the rest of the box score, nobody else coming close to, well, other than Day Wilson, Nobody else coming close to double figures. Um, Jersey Wolf had 7 minutes. She didn't score any points. Jada Richard went in for a brief minute. She took a shot and didn't have any points. Kaylin Gilbert had 4 points. Last year, Poa had 2 points. Really, in this game as a whole, nobody, made a whole lot of shots. LSU shot like 36% from the floor. So what I'm looking at, if I'm LSU right now, I know what Mikaylah Williams can do. I know what Flajee Johnson can do. I know what Anissa Moore can do. Now you need everybody else around them to start getting more minutes in and getting big shots up as well, because that's what's going to ultimately win you a championship. We saw back when they did it a couple years ago, Jasmine Carson had the game of her life. Last year, Poa had some great 3-pointers in the game. Like, it's about the role players just as much as it is your star players. Hats off to Kentucky for coming out and playing the way that they did. I think in the first half, they out rebounded offensive rebounds at least. I think they had 11 there in the first half, and then LSU flipped the script and it looked completely different in the second half. It was really just a tale of two halves. So Kentucky is a team that, they're going to fight all the way to the end. It was senior day there for, I think her name is Georgia Amore. And she came out, and how many points did she have? Georgia Amore had 16 points. She led all scorers for Kentucky. So I mean, she came out and she scrapped and she fought for her last opportunity to play on her home court in her career. And what this also tells me is that women's college basketball is about as wide open as we've seen in a long time. I saw somebody tweeted the other day that right now, bro, we are in the golden age of women's college basketball. Notre Dame, number 1 team in the country, goes down in double overtime. South Carolina losing to UConn last week. USC upsetting UCLA when they were number 1 in the country. LSU losing to Texas last week. Like, if we talking about just one and done games, anybody can lose on any given day. That is what we're seeing right now. And LSU was able to survive, falling in an instance where it very early on, it looked like Kentucky was about to pull it out. It looked like they were about to upset them. And I think that if they would have won the game, they could have had a shot at clinching a top 4 seed and a double bye in the SEC tournament. But I think they needed more help from like Ole Miss and another team. LSU just needed to win, and they got it. Now we know from what Kim Mulkey has said in the past, the conference tournament isn't as important to her because it's more so for your Cinderella teams that, go on a run in the conference tournament. They get the automatic bid. They go to the NCAA tournament. And from there, they can make a little bit more magic happen. But you never want to be the team that some of that magic starts up against. So a lot of credit to LSU for coming out on top against a very scrappy Kentucky ball club. But we're going to have to see a little bit more from some of the role players, especially when we get down into March Madness, because the game plan going in, the scouting report, people are going to say, all right, we got these 3 girls. We might not be able to shut down all 3 of them, but we know we can't let them be the reason that they win. You're going to have to beat us with the role players. It's very similar to what we were saying going into the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. If Jalen Hurts has the game of his career, you got to tip your cap to that. It can't be Saquon Barkley that wins the game for you. That's how teams are viewing LSU. It can't be Mikaylah Williams. It can't be Anissa Moore getting a double-double. You got to find a way to make sure that it's your role players that are, making, it difficult for you to win in a ball game. So LSU improves to, I believe, 27-2. Those 2 losses, obviously, to South Carolina and Texas. They're on the road. So we'll see. We'll see as we get closer to the end of the regular season what things will look like for the Lady Tigers, the Fighting Tigers of LSU, and what they will be able to do in women's college basketball. All right, guys, let's go ahead to take number 2 and make some forward progress. And we're talking about the New Orleans Saints. They have completed filling out their offensive and defensive coordinators as they have hired Doug Nussmeier as their OC. Nussmeier has worked alongside new Saints head coach Kellen Moore at a number of stops, most recently in Philly, where he served as quarterbacks coach for Jalen Hurts and the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Nussmeier was the quarterback's coach during Moore's stint as OC for the Dallas Cowboys from 2019 to 2022, and then the Chargers in 2023. Nussmeier is a former quarterback himself. He has ties to the area. The Saints drafted him in the 4th round in 1994, and he spent 4 seasons there in New Orleans. And then a day later, the Saints would hire former Los Angeles Chargers head coach Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator. Staley was the Chargers head coach from 21 to 23, and he hired Moore to be his OC in his final year. Staley also spent the 2024 season as the San Francisco 49ers assistant head coach. But prior to his stint, and this is going to, hit home for Elijah, prior to his stint with the Chargers, he was the Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator in 2020, where the Rams led the league in scoring defense and total defense in that season. So, Elijah, the Saints get their guys. Not a huge shock in the mix because their names were, a part of that, of who they potentially thought would be the coordinators. But how do you feel about the hires? And I want to hear your thoughts on what you think about Brandon Staley being in the mix as well. You got your mic muted, bro.
So I think the offensive hire. I think the offensive hires was that's for granted. I think when offensive coaches usually take jobs, they take somebody that's familiar with the system that they want to run, and they grab them and help them implement the game plan for the week. I mean, if you look at it, D'Amico Ryans when he went from the defensive coordinator from San Francisco to the head coach for the Texans, he took offensive guy on the staff before he fired him this year, and then with Liam Cohen do the same thing with Jacksonville. He had somebody who he had on his staff when he was in LA. Um, and took him with him. So that's normal. And I think Doug will have great. What I think will be great for that, the Saints part of it is talent and development because I think Doug, who I'm pretty sure is working with his son Garrett, um, can help develop some talent out there in New Orleans, especially at the quarterback position, which everybody knows that's what is most needed for the New Orleans Saints. That's not a secret. It is what it is. They need some quarterback play, and I think Doug can probably help develop that um, if they don't tank and get his son. But now for Brandon Staley, New Orleans, you're in trouble. I'm not gonna lie, you're in trouble. I don't get me wrong, Brandon Staley. I think is probably a good guy. He comes to work on time, clocks in, checks in with his players. But let's be honest with you, the 2020 year when the Rams had that scoring defense, his defense system really worked because he had Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, you had one guy who could shut down one side of the field because Jalen Ramsey was still in his prime, and then you had Aaron Donald who just in that year was taking 2 to 3 offensive linemen. One play he did take 4. I remember that. Took 2 or 3 guys offensive linemen, and now everybody else get one-on-ones. As you can see, when he went to the Chargers, he had Joey Bosa, he had Khalil Mack, he had Derwin James, he had Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, the list could still go on what he had out there in the Chargers, and they gave up. I remember they gave up like 70 to the Raiders or 60 to the Raiders.
They gave up 63. That the 63-point loss or the 63 points that they gave up. That's ultimately after that game is when he got fired. And like when you looking at numbers after he left the Rams after that one season, his defense is 30th, 22nd, 21st, and then last year with the 49ers, I know he wasn't the DC, but they were 29th in total defense. So his track record as of recent hasn't been the best, but keep going.
Yeah, man. So like that is horrible. It's horrible. But you know what though? You gotta start somewhere. And people don't understand. Brandon Staley was actually on that San Francisco team last year. He was the defensive specialist or whatever that even was. So and their defense wasn't even good last year. So what I'm saying is, I know you're going off the track record of what he did in the past, what he did in 2020 with the Rams, but I really want y'all to pay attention to what he did after he left the Rams and went to the Chargers and then the 49ers. The defense has never been the same. Now, with that being said, um, if if Kellen Moore, who's an offensive guy, who I don't know if he's an all-around coach, if he have some game plans that can help Brandon Staley and get him out some of that stupid schemes that he have, then maybe it could work. But Brandon Staley hire is not a great hire, and I'm saying that in the sense of the Saints kind of rushed this one, and I wish they would have looked around the league just a little bit more to see what they could find. Because if you want to turn things around defensively and you want somebody that's young and energetic that's coming in the room, I wouldn't have grabbed Brandon. I would have grabbed probably somebody else. So that's what I got to say about that,
Man, you going hard on your former defensive coordinator, man. You ain't taking no prisoners, bro.
man.
You ain't cutting
Nah,
them no slack.
nah,
Listen, man. For me, I love Doug Nussmeier coming in, because when you're implementing a new offense, which Kellen Moore has been on record in his first press conference, he said that he will call plays. Somebody asked him that question, and he kind of said it like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call them plays." Who you thought?
huh,
But with Doug Nussmeier being on the staff, it's going to give him a sense of somebody that he's familiar with. Obviously him being on the staff with the Cowboys, and then also there where Brandon Staley was a part of the mix too. So all of those guys are comfortable with each other. They know what each other's work ethic is like. They know the amount of time that they put in. To me, I also think that Doug Nussmeier being in the building is a sense that, like Elijah mentioned, that development will happen, and I think he will end up developing his son. I think the Saints will give Derek Carr one more year. They're going to ride it out. They're going to see what happens with him. And if he don't get the answers that they're looking for, they're going to find every possible way to get as high up as they can for Garrett. Because if Garrett, because we was at the Super Bowl, and after this is over now, but we went inside and got there near the 100 levels, and we saw Garrett, and that's the first thing I said is, man, he looking real lean. He didn't trim down. He looking stout. He ready to go and lead the Tigers. So what we've seen in the past few years of LSU quarterbacks in year twos: Joe Burrow, Heisman Trophy winner; Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner. Hey, if Garrett Nussmeier wins the Heisman Trophy and the Saints don't have another good year, fully expect for Doug Nussmeier to nudge the shoulder of Kellen Moore and say, "Go get my boy. Let's make magic happen in the dome." So, uh, I love that for Doug Nussmeier, mainly because he will now have an opportunity to be in position that if the Saints do have success, he can go and get himself a head coaching job if that's what he decides to do for his career. Now, defensively, I saw Brandon Staley's name, and I started doing research because I knew of the way that he coached the Rams, and I started looking at the scheme that he plays, and they started talking about this. He likes to play a gap and a half, and I'm looking at the videos, and I'm like, bro, this is so like odd, because just football 101 or quick breakdown, whatever. Defensively in schemes, everybody normally has a one gap assignment. So if I'm a defensive tackle, I'm lined up on the right hand side of the center, whatever. If I'm a nose, I have that gap that I'm right there in, unless we call a stunt or twist or anything like that. I have that one gap. So if we're in run defense, right, and the running back runs through my hole, I'm supposed to plug the gap or I'm supposed to make the tackle. But in Brandon Staley's defense, which he likes to play with a 3-man front, they are not two gapping, meaning that they're holding their lineman up and then playing either side. Instead, they're being aggressive and they're holding the gap where they're lined up at. And then if the back cuts away, they're shedding and trying to make the play in the hole. The whole purpose of that is to make it hard for offensive linemen that if they're working double teams in different schemes and they're trying to work up to the second level, it makes it harder for them to come off of a double team and work up to the second level. So essentially, it's designed for your 3 guys up front to be dudes, and then your safeties and inside linebackers to come and make the plays, 1-2 yards up the field. A lot of the plays that were happening for the Rams during the year were not a lot of TFLs, unless the defensive line just penetrated and got in the backfield and made the play. It was mostly like short gains, 1-2 yards. And in today's NFL, for some reason, 2-3 yard gains are a bad thing. So if they're not doing that, they're gonna stop running the football, right? Um, I don't know how this will work with the Saints personnel, because for the longest they have been a 4-3 base type of defense for the past couple of years under Dennis Allen. I think the past 9 with him being there. So now you're asking these guys to not only learn a different scheme, which that's nothing new to the NFL, but we gonna play you different. So now a guy like Cam Jordan, instead of playing a 5 tech, is going to be more of a 4-eye, which means that instead of lining up outside of the offensive tackle, he'll be more inside of him. And again, if it's going off of Brandon Staley's philosophy, he's going to be playing a gap and a half. So to a guy that's been in the NFL for as long as Cam Jordan has and has been playing it a certain type of way, I'm not saying he can't do it. I believe he can, but it's going to be some growing pains and adjustments. And I don't know how much time the Saints will have to get it figured out before they're not in the position that they want to be in terms of being a playoff team. So um, I don't know. It is to be seen. I do also believe that because Brandon Staley is a 3-4 guy, especially if they do play a 3-4 defense, they have to go get Mason Graham and plug him in. Because I don't watched enough tape on that boy from Michigan. He the one. And you need guys that are strong enough to hold up against double teams and against their linemen and to be able to shed blocks and play a gap and a half over. So Elijah doesn't like it. I'm very, very leery about the Staley hire. I like Doug Nussmeier being in the house. Ultimately, Kellen Moore went and got guys that he would be comfortable with. And that is what is the main thing that he's going to want in order to be able to build out his philosophy and get guys in the building to teach the way that he wants the New Orleans Saints organization to be ran. So we'll see, man.
I gotta ask you though. So we talk about Doug, Doug development, right? And I know you said David Carr. I mean, if the Saints don't lose enough games to go get Garrett Nussmeier, would you rather see him try to develop Spencer Rattler throughout the year, or would you rather see Derek Carr there again?
I think developing Spencer Rattler could be the move as well. But I just know that typically when new coaches come in, they want to go get their guys. Like there's no knock to anybody that's on the staff or already on the team. They just typically want their own guys because they can implement it. Because, like I was mentioning with Cam Jordan been under Dennis Allen the past 9-10 years. He been playing the defense a certain way, so he already comfortable. Now you finna tell him potentially, bro, you're gonna have to play the defensive end position completely different than what you played in the last half of your career. I mean, versus if you go and draft somebody and you tell them, this is how I want you to play my defense. That's the only way they know how to play it in the NFL. So it's kind of the same thing. Even though Spencer Rattler is still very young in the league, so he's still very impressionable. But for Derek Carr, I mean, he's felt his way about the way that he plays his whole career, so he ain't gonna want to change too much. So that's why I believe it'll be Garrett in the building with the New Orleans Saints in the next year. I fully believe that. Y'all can book it, and you heard it here first here on the Fitz Take podcast. So we'll see what happens there with the New Orleans Saints. All right, guys. Now let's move on to our third take, and it's a topic that me and Elijah have kind of mentioned about in different conversations, but recently the Major League Baseball and ESPN have mutually agreed to end their national television deal after the upcoming 2025 season, according to a memo Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred sent to his owners last Thursday. Manfred wrote the league has not been pleased with the minimal coverage that MLB has received on ESPN's platforms over the past several years outside of the actual live game coverage. In that same week, Netflix showed interest in bidding on the NFL's Sunday afternoon games. The Sunday afternoon games belong currently to CBS and Fox. Fox acquired the NFC package from CBS in 94, and CBS snatched the AFC package from NBC in 1998. The current broadcast deals run through 2023, but the league has the right to pull the plug on the deals 4 years early. So that would be 2029, and some believe that they likely will. So, with that in mind, Elijah, is the streaming era officially about to take over live sports? I know we are already seeing every TV show is already on a streaming platform. There's no point in even trying to watch it live because you can just go pull it up streaming later. But the main thing that's kind of keeping cable television around mainstream TV is live sporting events. But do you feel like the streaming era is coming and will it eventually take over?
Oh, it's here. It's definitely here because I think Super Bowl was streamed on Tubi.
Yeah.
It's here. It's here. So Netflix, they kind of dipped their toe in the water Christmas and was like, let's see what we can do for Christmas. And they did it. And they seen the ratings that they could have, with the Beyonce halftime show being a part of it. So um, why not? Why not try to buy it from CBS or NBC? I'm not NBC, CBS or Fox, right? If I'm into making money, let me do it. And Netflix is there for that, man. They're making sure that they're having, they're more than just movies and TV shows. If I could be a whole station, a whole network, why not? And I think that, like I said, them having that Christmas football on their streaming service really helped them out. Now, what that's being said is, cable TV may die. It may die. It may die because if your only thing is live sports, what else? And that goes away. You have nothing else. You can find every TV show you want to on streaming services, like you just said. You can find every movie you want to, including some of them that's in theaters, on streaming services. If you can find live sports with that on streaming services, DirecTV's done. Comcast been out of here. Let me tell y'all something. This thing is over. Streaming services is taking over, and all these other stations, they got to figure something else to do, like go with neighborhoods. But like it's just it's over. Streaming services is there, man. It's here and it's taking over.
Man, I think that Netflix has already worked their way closely above the curve. Peacock got a couple games, I think, not last. Well, no, I think they got a couple games last year. I want to say the Dolphins played on Peacock, and it was exclusive to Peacock. Netflix had Christmas Day, and then they also have Monday Night Raw in the WWE. So
All right.
sports. Hey, wait a minute. Let me put you back on the screen and make sure you know. The WWE, yes, Monday Night Raw
All
and
right.
Netflix. They got it going. All right. They got the deal
Amazon
cut.
Prime. Don't forget Amazon Prime too. They had it.
Exactly. Okay. So don't do that. And Peacock right now is running WWE PLEs. They have the rights to that. So when it's time to watch the pay-per-view PLE paid or whatever PLE stands for, I can't remember right off the top of my head, you go to Peacock. So stop playing with them boys. All right. Don't do that. But as I was saying, streaming services, man, have made it their business to say we are here to stay because they already got us with watching the shows, whether it was Squid Game, you got, Stars had Power for so many years, Peacock got Bel Air. Every streaming platform has something to offer. And the only thing that's been keeping them from taking over is the fact that live sporting events still happen on CBS, on Fox, and on NBC. But if these streaming platforms get their foot in the door to start laying big money on the table and start scratching the ear of the league and saying, hey, come over here. We can do business with you guys and we can make it happen. And where we will officially see clear cut numbers like we saw on Christmas Day that the NFL is king, they're going to go where that money resides. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that guy that was a car salesman or whatever his name was, where the money resides. That's what the NFL is trying to be. It's only the beginning because we have a few more years before any of this could possibly happen. But especially when it happened with the MLB, I mean, they have their own network already, but you have to pay for it to be a part of your cable service, you know? So what's going to happen now with a lot of the coverage that they were getting with ESPN? Does Netflix step up to the table and say, we'll take baseball? Does Peacock say, we'll take it? Does Amazon Prime? Like, who steps up to the plate and says that we'll take MLB? Just the same way that Netflix is saying we'll take Sunday night or Sunday afternoon football. It's coming, guys. So I don't know who's watching this, how old you might be. I'm not gonna cut the cable. I'm sticking with hey, everything is basically streamed now. Basically everything. So if we've said this many times on this show, it's adapt or die. Adapt or get left behind. You change with the times, or the times gonna keep changing without you. That's what it boils down to. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see, man. Like we said, it's a couple more years before any of that comes down the pipeline. Like we said, the deal uh with CBS and Fox is through 2033. Um, but the league can always pull the plug in 2029, which that's just 4 years away. So y'all keep your eyes on that, and we will too. All right, guys, we're going to round out the show with our Fitz take as the NFL scouting combine is coming up this week. I believe it starts on the 27th, which is Thursday of this week. And this is the time when we see a lot of guys pop up on the scene and somebody runs a 4.35 or whatever, and they end up getting drafted in the first round, and then they don't have a great career because they just ran real fast. Teams fell for it, and they drafted them. So we have an opportunity to see these guys run around. I think Shedeur Sanders came out and said that he will not throw at the combine. He'll throw at his pro day. And a lot of guys are normally not electing to run or do anything, participating at the combine. It's really just an opportunity to get a lot of firsthand interactions and interviews out of the way, as we saw on Hard Knocks with the New York Giants, which I hope they do that again with another team coming up this summer, because that gave a lot of insight to what really happens behind the scenes, which a lot of it we already knew, but to really see it on the big screen on a streaming platform was a good thing. So, Elijah, is film more important than measurables, or do you think measurables can sometimes outweigh things that you see on film?
Um, if we talk measurables is like a 5% chance that you probably hit on the mark. Xavier Worthy being one of them. He was not a top tier receiver before the combine to me. I didn't really hear much about him. You had so many receivers with Rome and Malik and Marvin, and next thing you know, Xavier comes and run this 4.29, I think, and Chiefs was like, "Hey, we can work with this," and they did. Xavier had a really good game in the Super Bowl, and he really grew, especially when Rice went out when he tore his ACL. You could see Xavier's progress. But other than that, man, no, I'm with film. Uh, Only for the simple fact that you can see the good and you can see the flaws in full uniform. I could go out and swim from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool to come back. That doesn't mean I'm beating Michael Phelps. If you put me out there, just put me in the backyard pool, and I did that, that does not mean I'm beating Michael Phelps. I could go outside and hit a puncher bag, and you just film me go. That don't mean I'm beating Floyd, but I look good because I ain't fighting nobody. I'm not swimming against nobody. I'm not fighting against nobody. Measurable sometimes or most times are lies. Like that's why when senior bowls and things like that happen, the one position I'm really paying attention to is the offensive line and the defensive line, because I feel like they get the most work. And you could really discover who is that guy. For instance, not a lot of people knew who Mike Green was. He go out there and show up for the Senior Bowl, first round pick. And it wasn't what he did at the combine, because at the combine, it never happened yet. The measurables that he did, or the film, and the stuff that he did on Senior Day, where he actually had pads on and he was destroying some of these big name program guys. That's what you're really going to see. So it really comes down to film, man. Film will show the good and the bad. It's easy to look at somebody highlights and be like, they're great. Well, you're only highlighting highlights. Like, it's not like you're sitting here and saying, oh, they're going to put a drop pass on highlights, or if he ran a lazy route on highlights, or if the quarterback didn't take a proper 3-step, 5-step, or a proper read on highlights. They're just going to show, oh, that looks good. Let's put it out there. So for really good GMs, they won't just look at highlights and say, or just hear what fans would say, um, and just draft the guy off of that. They did their homework. I mean, Patrick Mahomes fell in Kansas City lap because the guy Brent Venables did his homework a year early and wanted to trade up that next year because he felt like he saw enough on tape that this guy would be good. So again, man, we put too much pressure on just if this guy can run a 4.3, if he can backpedal real fast, or if he could do this on air. Like what I'm saying is everybody beats air, essentially. Like everybody could beat air because air's not doing nothing. But when you got to go against another physical or another human being right in front of you, that's when things look different because it's his best versus yours best, and let's see where it measures out at. Not just stuff where I'm running around in gym shorts. Like that's not happening. That doesn't give me the best idea of how you can make my football team um, go and potentially because I don't care if you're the Cleveland Browns or the New Orleans Saints. Every team is essentially competing for a Super Bowl until the season's over with. But are you going to help me compete for a Super Bowl? So I don't like the NFL Combine too much or stuff like that. Not really a big fan of pro days sometimes either. It's what you can do on the film, Senior Bowls and stuff like that. That's what really gets me going.
For sure, man. In the great words of Mike Richard, my old offensive line coach in college, what you do when you're running around in underwear does not matter. It's about when you put on the pads and buckle up your chin strap. That's the only thing that matters. Because as a lineman, I mean, the drills that they be doing, the shuffling back and forth, the looking at the footwork, that's cool against air. What you gonna do when Khalil Mack is over there? What you gonna do when Jalen Carter is lined up over you and he been working a bull rush all game? Can you stop the bull rush? Can you alleviate pressure from the quarterback? If you're a defensive end, can you get to the quarterback? Can you run the hoop? Can you bend? Do you have ability to play in the run game and also rush the passer? Or are you a liability or in the run game? If you're a linebacker, can you shed blocks? Can you cover? If you're a DB, can you play man and zone? Or are you a liability when they say we go and cover two and you can't understand your zone concepts and responsibilities? If you're a safety, can you play your half of the field or your third of the field, or are you looking in the backfield? All of that stuff is the only thing that matters. Now, for people that are, not being looked at highly and are like flying under the radar, if they go out and run a 4.3 and they have good film, go get them. But you cannot draft a guy and say, man, he ran a 4.3. Let's go get him. We'll teach him that football stuff later. It don't work like that because especially now, these guys are making way too much money because after 3-4 years, you're going to have to give them $100 million. So I can't give you $100 million just because you can run in a straight line really fast. You got to be able to win on Sundays. You have to win your one-on-one battles at a high rate to be $100 million man. That's the only way that it works like that. So I like the combine because you can see who ran the fastest and all of that stuff like that. And some guys' names will pop up from a smaller school or somebody that was a number 2 or number 3 receiver that didn't get as many receptions. And then after you've seen that, or after you've seen the guy have a 4.0 in the what is it, the shuttle, the 3-cone shuttle, I think it is that they have, whatever it is, you see that, and then you pop on the tape and you see how it translates, and you say, okay, he can run the routes, he can run the route tree, okay, he can bend the hoop, okay, he sheds blocks really well, okay, he can cover, okay, I like what he can do. Now let's give him a look. Now they're going up draft boards. Now they can come in and make a difference. But the thing that goes without saying at the combine, that's also, a big part of it is how can they receive information, receive schemes, and be able to regurgitate it back to you. We saw how Jaden Daniels handled things with Brian Daboll when we were looking at it on Hard Knocks. If you a quarterback and I rattle this play off to you, can you say it back to me? Or do I have to slow down and dumb down my offense because you can't remember these plays? Because I don't care how good you are. If you don't know what the play is when you get in the huddle and you can't say it back to your team, we only got 3 timeouts now. I ain't finna burn too many of them before I take you out and put in somebody that can do the job. So everything is cool at the combine and it's great to see it. And wow, that guy ran a 4.3. Man, that lineman ran a 4.7 and he 352 pounds. That's great. Can it translate to the field? If it doesn't translate on the grass, it don't mean nothing. It does not matter. So we love it when it works in their favor, but when you're just going off of potential of what guys do in underwear, running around on the field, it don't matter. That film never lies.
Turn this TV off. Turn this TV off, bro. We don't need to see that stuff. It's a lie.
Hey man, that eye in the sky never lies. Cause you can see that all 22. Oh man, coach, I got cut. I got cut on the backside. No, you didn't. You stopped running. You was loafing. That's why you didn't get the tackle on the backside. Oh, this boy like to loaf. I'm not drafting him in the first round. Slides to the 4th round. That's how that happens. I don't care that he run fast. He be loafing. I don't care if he can throw the ball 80 yards down the field. He can't read the defense. He has one read, and then he takes off running. I don't care. I don't care how far he can throw it. I don't care that you can, run at a shield and cut if in real time, when you get in open space, you can't make a man miss as a running back. It don't matter. Film never lies, guys. So we'll look at the combine. We'll probably talk about it a little bit on the show of some of the top performers. But in terms of if that's going to drive somebody home and they're going to be a Super Bowl MVP because of what they do at the combine, absolutely not. Tom Brady is a perfect example. A perfect example. It was what he could do on the field. And that's all that matters. So, E, you got anything else, man?
Yeah, man. Before we go, man, I know we started off with basketball. I think I'm about to give up on my Knicks. Like, I think it's about that time.
Bro, y'all like 3rd in the East right now, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, but the first 2 teams in the East, the Cavs and the Celtics,
they look good.
The Cavs beat us by 50 on Friday. The Celtics beat us by, I think, 20-something today. Let me tell you something. We lost to the Celtics 3 times this year.
Y'all have.
And
Jason Tatum was looking like prime Jordan the way he was hooping today on the boys. God damn.
The Celtics starters never finish any of those games. Like, I mean, I know we're missing OG and Mitch Robinson, but Karl Towns is bad. I'm saying it. I don't care no more.
Yeah, man, he got hurt. He came back in and finished the game, though.
I'm not a fan. I mean, maybe when Mitch Robinson come back, when we slide him to the 4, he could be a 4 permanently. But when he at the 5, we don't got no first round picks. We traded away for Mikaylah Bridges, which I don't even know if he's on the team sometimes because I don't be seeing him. I don't know when he's on the court. So yeah, I'm thinking about getting over my Knicks for this year, unless something changed with Mitch Robinson and OG come back.
It might surprise you, man. You never know. Playoffs right around the corner, bro.
I'm a Lakers
fan. And they beat the Nuggets. They snapped that 9-game win streak, so they ain't playing either. Luka, I think, had a 32-point double-double or something like that. So that boy, hey, like I said, when he got traded, I don't care if you 400 pounds, put the ball through the hole. If you can do that, eat as many cheeseburgers as you want to. I do not care. I will drive you to Rodeo Drive and take you wherever you want to do. So whatever you want to do.
If it was Zion, Zion just can't do that.
Put the ball through the hole. Put the ball in the hole. As long as you can do it and you can be on the court for however many minutes that you. Now, if you out here and you can't run and you tired and you loafing, okay, now we got to get something worked out. But if you can put the ball through the hole and you can do it at a high level and you're not huffing and puffing and all that stuff, eat as many cheeseburgers that you want. I don't care. I don't care. Do what you do. So Well, guys, that will wrap up yet another episode here on the Fitz Take Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Be sure to follow us there. And also be sure to hit the like button, share button, but most importantly, hit the subscribe button because that helps us continue to grow. And we're going to keep doing that and going to the moon. I hope y'all enjoyed the interview from Juwan Johnson last week. Y'all keep running that up as well. And we'll keep dropping some more interviews for you guys as the weeks go by. We'll see who we can get lined up coming up here pretty soon. So signing out for Elijah Nixon, I'm Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.